I wasn't just surviving anymore, I was thriving, controlling assets they'd only dreamed about. And the best part? They had no clue, not until I handed them the deed at that dinner. My brother Tyler still won't look me in the eye. My mom's pride feels like a silent apology. My dad? He's been avoiding family calls altogether. But none of that matters now. What matters is this: I broke free from their doubt. I turned their mockery into motivation. And the empire they mocked? It's mine, completely. But here's the real twist: they think this is the end of the story. It's not. Because while they were busy celebrating Christmas, I was already planning my next move. And when I'm done, they'll wish they'd never underestimated me. I didn't go back to that house for weeks. I ignored the group chats, the guilt-tripping voicemails, and the half-hearted apologies. Suddenly, the same people who once laughed when I couldn't afford gas money were now sending me links to their business ideas and asking if I could mentor them. Tyler texted me, "Hey sis, I've got this fitness app concept. Could use your help. Want to invest?" Emily posted an old photo of us online with a caption like we were best friends, so proud of my brilliant sister, Amelia. Even Dad emailed me a 2-line message, "Hope you're doing well. If you ever want to talk, I'm here." But none of it was real, none of it was love. It was desperation wrapped in fake smiles. So I did something they didn't expect. I threw a party, a massive one. Black tie, catered, open bar, luxury everything. Rented out a ballroom at the most expensive hotel downtown, sent gold embossed invitations that simply read, "From the one you forgot." They all showed up, every single one of them, wearing their best clothes, pretending not to be stunned the moment they walked into that room. And the chandelier above? Worth more than their combined cars. A string quartet played softly in the background. Every table had custom name cards, except for one, mine. I walked in last, red dress, hair up, silent entrance, but every head turned. I didn't need to say a word, I just walked straight to the front of the room and tapped the mic. "Some of you remember me as the family disappointment," I said, calm, steady. "Some of you laughed when I told you I was building something. Some of you didn't even bother to ask how I was doing. And yet, here we are." Eyes shifted, some people looked down, others tried to smile. "I invited you here tonight to say thank you. Thank you for not believing in me, because if you had, I might have gotten comfortable. I might have waited around for your approval. Instead, I had to fight for every dollar, every deal, every dream. And that turned out to be the greatest gift you could have given me." There was a pause. You could hear ice clinking in glasses. Then I added, "You all gave each other gifts last Christmas and left me out, so I figured I'd return the favor, this time with something none of you saw coming." Screens around the room lit up. A short video played, clips of my warehouse, behind-the-scenes footage of my team, a New York Times headline, "The 27-year-old behind the fastest-growing fulfillment brand in America." And then the last slide. Amelia Lane, CEO. 127 employees. Net worth, $14.6 million. The room went quiet again. I smiled and looked straight at my dad. "Oh, and about your house? You can keep living there without paying rent. Not for you, but for Mom." He nodded slowly, "Thank you." Then I turned to my brother, Tyler. "But Tyler, I'll be taking over that office space you're renting. My team is growing." His face fell. I lifted my glass. "Here's to being underestimated, it's the best kind of motivation." In that moment, I wasn't just the girl they ignored. I was the woman they'd remember forever. They were giving out gifts like it was a movie, gold watches, designer bags, even car keys. But when it was my turn, my mom, Karen, looked me right in the eyes and said, "Oh, Amelia, we thought you didn't need anything. You're still working that cashier job, right?" Then they all laughed, like I didn't belong. Like I was some kind of failure they just had to deal with. If you've ever felt like the outcast in your family, ignored, laughed at, or made to feel small, hit like, share, and subscribe. Because what I did next made them regret ever saying a word. I smiled on the outside, but inside, I was hurt and angry. My cousin Mason was showing off his new iPhone. My sister Emily was crying because Dad gave her a Tesla. And me? I got nothing. Not even a look. But I wasn't defeated, I was planning. No one at that table knew I owned an online business that just made $2.3 million in 1 year. I didn't have investors or help, Just my old laptop and many late nights packing boxes in my tiny apartment. My older brother, Tyler, leaned in and smirked. So, Amelia, still scanning groceries? Bet that business degree really paid off, huh? I didn't flinch. What I wanted to say was, you just signed a lease in a building I bought 2 weeks ago. But I stayed quiet. For now. They toasted. My Uncle Dave raised his glass. To family, and to those of us who didn't waste their lives. That was it. I stood up, smiling politely. My hand reached into my coat pocket, pulling out one envelope. Just one. What's that? Mom asked, narrowing her eyes. Just something small, I replied. I handed it to Dad. Go ahead. Open it. He opened the envelope. His face drained. It was a deed transfer. I had just bought their entire neighborhood block, including his house, through a shell company he didn't even know existed. But I wasn't finished. He blinked hard, like he couldn't believe what he was reading. This can't be real, Dad muttered, passing the paper to Uncle Dave, who immediately went pale. My brother Tyler snatched it next, his jaw tightening as he read the fine print. Wait, he said slowly. You own this place? You bought our block, our houses? I nodded, calm as ever. 6 months ago. Through my company, Ava Lane Holdings. You might have heard of it. Or maybe not, you were all too busy laughing at me. Silence. Dead silence. Emily finally broke it. That's not possible. You've been working at a grocery store for the last 2 years. Yeah, I said. At night. During the day, I was building a logistics business. Started with $300 and one product. Now I ship for over 300 brands across the country. You guys said I'd never be anything. Remember that? Mom looked stunned. So, you're rich? I leaned in slightly. Let's just say I paid for your new roof with one client's monthly invoice. Their faces twisted, confusion, regret, and something else, too, fear. Uncle Dave finally spoke. So, what now? You going to kick us out? I looked around the room, let the silence settle again, and then I said, I haven't decided yet. Their jaws dropped. And for the first time in my life, they listened. For years, they ignored my calls, laughed when I said I was starting something new, and treated me like I was invisible. But tonight, everything changed. My phone buzzed. A message from my biggest client, shipments doubled. We need you to expand. I smiled, knowing this was just the beginning. Tyler's voice cracked as he asked, why didn't you tell us any of this? We could have helped. I shook my head. You weren't interested in helping me. You wanted me to stay small, quiet, invisible. I paused, looking at each face around the table. But I wasn't small. I was building an empire you couldn't see. Mom's eyes filled with tears. I was wrong, Amelia. I nodded. Yeah. You were. And just like that, the girl they called a failure wasn't the same anymore. The cashier they mocked was now the landlord of their entire neighborhood, and the boss of some of the biggest brands in the country. I gathered my coat and walked out, leaving them with their stunned faces and empty hands. But this was only the start. They watched me leave the room like I was some kind of ghost, one they'd never really noticed until I suddenly became the most powerful person there. I could still hear whispers behind me, the kind that mixed shock with jealousy. The kind that said, how did we miss this? Weeks before that Christmas, I'd been nothing but a shadow to them. Amelia, the girl who always showed up late, who never had the right clothes, who worked at the local grocery store because she didn't have what it takes. But while they were busy throwing shade, I was quietly signing contracts that would change my life forever. I started my business in a cramped apartment, with a borrowed laptop and no savings. I hustled every day, packing boxes, designing ads, learning everything online, because no one gave me a chance. My family said I was wasting my time. But every no I got pushed me harder. I knew one day I'd have proof that I wasn't the failure they thought I was. And that day came. Not just with a single check or a small win, but with an empire. The company I built wasn't just mine. It was the engine behind hundreds of brands, moving millions of dollars worth of products across the country.